Ooh, makes you nervous. All right, so thanks everyone for coming out. I appreciate you guys showing up. It's good to see some fans. I'm seeing some cosplayers over there. Captain Marvel is over there. I see you. Thank you.
Superman?
No, not Captain Marvel, not Superman.
Captain Marvelous.
All right, so I'm Patrick, or the Kamen Rider Guy, if you will. And this is Cassandra. She's going to be running the computer and whatnot. And welcome to the panel. This is Tokusatsu, more than just Power Rangers. Yeah, nice. Basically we'll be talking about just the genre of Tokusatsu in general, adaptations that have been taken of some of the bigger shows that actually have been made, mostly by Hayao Saban, the guys who made Power Rangers, and just kind of give you a glimpse at some stuff. Some of the stuff is actually for an older audience, so if it's piqued your interest, by all means, I've kept this as spoiler-free as I can. So, quick health and safety note, if you have a history of epilepsy or have issues with flashing lights or images, please step out of the room. I appreciate you guys showing up, but please go home safe.
This is some crazy ass Japanese flashing lights and shit.
From the 60s, where they were like, what's epilepsy? Is it demons? Are you possessed?
And the 90s with a lot of neons.
The 90s.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. All right, so for anyone who doesn't know, what's Tokusatsu is the obvious question. Boring description. Tokusatsu, or Toku for short, is a live-action special effects-driven drama that ties in some sci-fi, fantasy, sometimes some horror as well. It's also got a heavy emphasis on special effects. I prefer to give it this look. See, that's not boring at all. That's actually kind of cool. On the side note, I am going to be focusing more on transforming heroes because giant monsters do fall into focus as well. But Pacific Rim exists, so I think they're fine over here, quite frankly.
Yeah, and Godzilla.
I
think they're doing just fine.
And Godzilla's getting a sequel. They're doing fine. These guys are, there's Power Rangers. That's about it. Thank you.
Masked Rider too.
We'll get there.
For one season.
All right, so
Kamen Rider Dragon Knight.
one of the things,
we'll get there.
Oh, we'll get there. Don't worry, we'll get there.
My favorite.
Again, some of the stuff is to show some of these people actual footage from the actual shows, because on paper, some of this stuff makes no sense, and I mean that. Basic example, a group of masked heroes are fighting a giant crab with music. Wait for it.
Okay, admittedly, that sounds dumb on paper, but it's still kind of dumb in real life. I mean, there's just guys with
Side note, she's not a fan. She's here for me.
No, I like it kind of. But
Kind of.
yeah, it's still pretty ridiculous, but it's kind of fun. And campy.
It's the most awesome ridiculous you can
Yeah,
find. That's the point.
Yeah.
All right, so you may, believe it or not, even if you haven't like actually looked into the genre, you may have seen some of this stuff before. You just may not know what to look for. Obvious examples are guys like the Ginyu Force or the Great Saiyaman from Dragon Ball Z. Obvious references there. But then you got guys like Justimon from Digimon, who's based on a Kamen Rider who has an interchangeable arm. And clearly with a scarf. There's also Mashiro Kuna from Bleach, for example. There's the Pokemon's Bisharp and Ponyard. There's actually games on the WarioWare system that are a direct reference to Kamen Rider, example being the K-Touch, which is Decade's transformation device. That shows up in-game, identical, with the sounds. If you know what to look for, it's everywhere actually. Here's an example, Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh, and there's also in the new Wario game, if you play, I don't know if anyone's played it, but if you play the game with the little kid in bed, on his actual little handheld gaming device, you have to do a transformation sequence, and a guy turns into an obvious Kamen Rider. Like, it's just everywhere. And in Western media, like Pat said, in Fairly Odd Parents.
That's Kamen Rider V3 in pink.
In Fairly Odd Parents!
What?
Like, this is Western media. Like, these guys influence pretty much everything.
The fanboys are everywhere. All right, so brief history. I want to keep this educational. I'm sorry. It's based in Kabuki theater as well as Bunraku theater, which is basic types of theater. There were like there were fights, explosions, really good puppetry. It was very exciting for the time, which is now very boring, sadly. I mean, unless you're into that sort of thing, then more power to you. The first kind of hero that started it out was a guy named Supergiant, who was a TV serial character in 1957. The first on-screen guy for TV was Moonlight Mask, and he showed up in, I don't have the year here, excuse me, I'm embarrassed. But it was around the same time Astro Boy started showing up on TV. So it's kind of like anime as a strange cousin, twice removed. Yeah.
Quick question. Does stuff like Ultraman and Samurai Cyber Squad fall into Tokusatsu also? Or
Yes, they do.
We will get there.
Yes. RoboCop's got questions today. I like RoboCop today. All right, so let's start with Ultraman.
Yeah!
1966 in all its glory. Seriously, the lips on that thing. Okay, so again, started in 1966, created by Eiji Tsuburaya. Basic premise of the original series is this guy named Shin Hayata works for the Science Patrol.
Science Patrol. Yeah.
Actually, the Science Patrol. And he dies. First episode.
Spoilers.
Spoilers nothing. First episode from 1966.
You had a lot of time.
Read the book. But yeah, he's part of a three-way spaceship crash, and ends up just dying on the spot. One of the guys from Planet Ultra is like, dude, I just killed a guy who had nothing to do with anything. I'm gonna keep him alive. So he puts his life force into Hayata, and they both become a single being, hence Ultraman.
Originals from Planet Ultra.
From Planet Ultra. Ultraman is, again, old, but it's still going. It's strong in its own way. It kind of pitters out here and there, but it's got movies, and then it comes back. It also holds the Guinness Book of World Records for most spin-offs since 2001. So there's a reason I haven't watched everything. Ugh, it's scary. Adaptations. In 1983, there was a spin-off made called, hold on, Denku Chujin Gridman. That's a mouthful. And in 1994, Saban acquired the rights to make the Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. Woo! And yes, Tim Curry is the villain.
That show was
Cannot
awfully
get
good.
rid of that.
Awfully good is a very good description, quite frankly.
It's a pretty good description of all of Kamen Rider.
Will you hush? It's very 90s. That's really the best description I got for you. It's very 90s. Sorry guys, you hold your questions to the end. I do have a question section. I do have time for you guys. Just I got a lot to go through in the time limit. I'm very sorry. Okay, so that covers Ultraman in adaptation, and as much as I can like glimpse at you guys without getting ridiculously long-winded. So let's move on to Kamen Rider, my personal favorite.
Yes.
僕たちは2人で1人の探偵さ。行くぜ。
サイクロンジョーカ
変身。
ーサイクロンジョーカー
Smooth.
Okay, that's what I actually kind of really like, okay?
I know you do. Well,
'Cause everyone does.
look at the crowd reaction. Everyone likes this one. Double was cool. There's really nothing more I can say more than that. Double was cool. This one was created by a guy named Shotaro Ishinomori. Very good manga author and artist. And he has a lot to do with what I'm talking about today, actually. It was originally started in 1979. The original series, and I got the guy's comment up here, just for reference, was about a guy named Takashi Hongo.
And maybe you could recognize him from this amazing ad from Sega. And it's a giant Sega on his back.
Should have done a Rider game.
I swear I did not make that up. That was an ad that ran for Sega Saturn.
And there's more of them. That's just like a little snippet. There is more.
He basically goes around beating up people, telling them to play Sega games. The guy's got a planet named after him. I wouldn't fuck with him.
And he plays
He plays the original Kamen Rider. He recently came back to reprise his role recently. The guy's scary. Basically, the original story is that Takeshi Hongo was a brilliant student at a college. He was a researcher, and he was captured by a secret evil organization named Shocker. And they turned him into a cyborg to destroy the world, conquer the world, rather. But he broke free before his mind was taken. And now, with incredible power, he fights the evil organization who have doomed him to this life. And that's kind of the basic premise for a lot of the stories after him. Riders usually get their powers through tragedy or accidents, and they don't really know what to do with it. But they do their best to find a way and save as many people as they can against whatever force of evil happens to crop up that year. And as you can see from the background here, there is a lot of them. That's actually out of date. There's been a lot more since then. Honestly, I think it's a really good series because it kind of gets to you. The older stuff is called the Showa era. It's, well, Adam West-y camp. Like, Adam West Batman camp is the best description I got for it. It's old, lots of practical effects, and by God, the acting. Oh, the acting. But it's good in its own right. If you can like sit down with a group of people and like just laugh at how ridiculous and bad the science is behind the show, it's really a lot of fun. Then there's the Heisei era writer season. It kind of did a Doctor Who in the 90s and kind of faded away with it and tried to pull out a couple of movies, but they didn't really work. And then it came back in 2000, and it's been going ever since. That stuff is far better looking. It's got the better looking suits up there at the front. It's better looking, the effects look amazing, and the stories are more complex and far more intricate. And they can actually tug at your heartstrings sometimes. It can get really emotional. Adaptations. Excuse me. I don't have a year up here, excuse me. But the first adaptation was made by Hayao Saban. It was kind of a spin-off of Power Rangers called Masked Rider. I'm sorry if you like it, but I think it's pretty freaking awful. I blame Furbus. If you know
Praise Furbus.
You be quiet. Do not bring your sin in here, sir. But there is another adaptation out there made by 4Kids Entertainment, of all people. Hold on.
That one's really good.
It won an Emmy
Yeah, it's
for outstanding stunt coordination.
Yeah.
This is Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. Yeah, theme song is a little something to desire. The plot's actually pretty good. The theme
It's
song.
catchy though.
It's like
I
5
it.
words.
It's catchy.
Well,
Go
yeah.
Power Rangers.
Yeah, well, Go Power Rangers has lyrics to it.
Yeah, I know,
This is-
but
this is
you
like-
only hear like Go Power Rangers.
Hero, hold on a second. There's another one that's a worse example. We'll get to that. We'll get to
I know
that.
what you're talking about. No.
Spoilers. Nothing. Just say nothing.
no, not Mystic Force now.
We'll
Not
bear
the one
pain.
after Mystic
We'll bear
Force.
the pain together. Yeah, that series is actually half decent, and it's got Matt Mullins. If anyone watched Mortal Kombat Legacy, he was the first guy to play Johnny Cage. And he plays basically Batman.
Yeah.
The dude looks like Batman, and he's personified like Batman. He's basically Batman.
Kamen Rider Batman.
Basically. Alright, let's move on. Super Sentai. Everybody knows this one.
You?
Yay.
お出ないそれチェンジ
Ninja Force.
進行の皆様それカウントライジャー横断の変形機決まりクワガライジャー風が吹き空が光
Samurai
ファ
to
ニ
the
ハリケーンレッド
水が舞い、波が踊る。水人、ハリケーンブルー。
大地が震え花が歌う他人ハリケーンイエロー人の知らず
世も知らず。
影となり手跡を打つ影に向かえて影を切り光に向かえて光を切る電光石火ローライジャー剣山日風戦隊ハリケンジャーあっさ
I don't know about you guys, honestly, that clip gives me chills. There's a lot of kabuki theater in that clip also, just so you know. Again, this is another one by Shotaro Ishinomori. The original series was Itsumi Sentai Go Ranger. And this one has never, like Sentai, like Power Rangers, started and never stopped. Sentai is still going, and it's been going since 1975. Yeah, there's a lot of Sentai teams that don't exist over here.
15.
Yeah, Sunbalkan, there's an excellent example. There's also higher stakes in Sentai. It's darker, it's bloodier, people die, for real, legit dead people die. Best example I can give is the Dragon Ranger. Imagine if Tommy Oliver had died in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That happened in Japan. Dragon Ranger is dead, forever.
Right in the fields.
Yeah.
Forever is relative.
No, he's dead. Like, actually.
No, he comes back in movies and then in other shows and then it's...
Spirit.
It's his ghost. It's been confirmed to be his ghost from the afterlife. I'm not kidding. Well, that's a fan thing. But honestly, like, a lot of people try to pick a fight between which one is better, Power Rangers or Sentai. It's really subjective, and why fight? They've been going nonstop for over 20, like, both of them have been going for over 20 years for sure. They make kids happy all over the world. Let's just be happy in that they exist and that they're there.
And they didn't always actually have mecha. Surprisingly enough, Spider-Man was the person who started this whole mecha thing.
Yeah, this is going to be a treat.
Oh, this is my favorite.
Stanley's contribution to Tokusatsu.
That punch that cold.
Wait for it.
Sounds like Harlem. Just like somebody. I kind of want this toy.
Spider-Man with a giant lion. Jetpack.
Carnage or Venom? I want to see that in the next movie. Yo, seriously, all the Avengers versus that. I want to see it. Let's go.
You actually might see it in the comics very soon.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, during Spider-Verse.
All right. Let's move on to something a little more obscure. This is Space Sheriff Gavan.
Oh, yeah.
You threw a plate.
All right, so that was Space Sheriff Gavan. It was the original of the Metal Heroes franchise, which has very numerous shows and spin-offs that I actually don't have time to go into right now.
Beetleborg? VR Troopers.
Just wait.
Just wait.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Seems to be the word of the day. This one's actually hard. I've been having trouble finding this one to watch, but I know for a fact it like disappeared hard for a while, and then it's been coming back recently. It had a crossover with the recent Sentai series called Gokaiger, where they brought it back, and it's got its own standalone movie, and it's getting yet another one. It's making a comeback, which is really good to see, because this guy, you actually have a lot to thank for this guy. Specifically, hey, RoboCop. Space Sheriff Gavan was actually cited as a reference for the RoboCop design. Yeah, so like, he's been kicking ass for one of the best theme songs in Tokusatsu history, actually. Get a listen to this. dead base.
That motorcycle though.
Yeah.
Like really,
Yeah.
why?
And yes, also, armored space cop with a mecha dragon and a lightsaber. This is a thing.
All your wildest dreams come true.
All right, adaptations. Saban again acquired the rights and really hodgepodge the footage here. They combined three series into VR Troopers.
No,
Play it.
no. I don't want to do this.
VR Trooper.
There's a talking dog.
Yeah, there's a talking dog in Denziman too.
It's a grid man too. Denziman. Oh, geez, yeah, that's good. But yeah, talking dog. Very much a poor man's Power Rangers. It survived 2 seasons, as far as I know. No, excuse me, the next one survived 2 seasons. This is based off of B-Fighters' Big Bad Beetleborgs.
No.
Play the clip. Two seasons. And Firefly gets canceled.
You took my joke.
Yes, I did.
Metallics was
No.
They used the suits as villains in the Forever Red movie.
Yes, they did actually. But I've got to get to my next topic, which is honestly a bit of a treat. Everyone here's over 18, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure, let's go with that.
Cool.
Yeah, right.
This is Garo.
Yes.
There's nothing bad here.
Look at that suit design. There's a bunch of them in that show. Yeah, this is the story of a group called the Makai Knights, who are basically demon hunters. They don't smile, because unlike any other season, they're expected to die. Yeah, they go into this knowing they're probably gonna die. Like the Sentai and the Riders know they might win someday. These guys just keep fighting. And it's never been adapted. Because what are we going to do with it? It's a midnight tokusatsu, which is like meant for older audiences. There's boobs and blood and handsome young men fighting with swords. For the ladies.
Sell toys is what they're gonna do if they import it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of suit designs like that. They're gonna sell toys.
Oh yeah, those are that's like what is it? What's his name? Todd McFarlane territory right there. It's gonna be toys, nothing but toys. But yeah, so that's Garo. Honestly, if you want something a bit darker than like Power Rangers, quite darker than Power Rangers, excuse me, check that out. Put the kids to bed first, if you have kids. Check that out though.
And for like anime lovers, there's been Toku kind of in anime as well. It's crossed into many series like Samurai Flamenco, Cyborg 009, Science Ninja Gatchaman, and his personal favorite, Skullman. It's like super bloody and...
The Skullman is so good.
Samurai Pizza Cats.
Yes, there's
Yes.
the Samurai Pizza
Yes.
Cats too.
Yes. So, we've kind of looked into a little bit corner of like bigger name shows and like some stuff out there. But there's so many things out there for pretty much everyone.
It took me 3 years to get through most of Kamen Rider. I'm not done.
Yeah, pretty much almost the most amount of time we've been together, he's been just constantly watching Kamen Rider.
This girl is a saint, I love her.
So you can watch it pretty much anywhere. It's a little hard to find though, especially subbed. You can watch it like on Facebook, YouTube, and VHO if anyone remembers VHO. Sorry, what?
YouTube's a bit dodgy. You actually have to find a good link, and if anyone else finds the link, they take it down. So just be careful sharing that stuff. You could ruin it for a lot of people.
Yeah, but Facebook's actually pretty good. Like, there's some groups out there who post subs from like new stuff, and it's really easy to watch. And we also run a blog on Tumblr about Kamen Rider reviews, rants, fan stuff, anything really. We'll even give links to like to watch shows and stuff. It's That Kamen Rider Guy at tumblr.com if you want to check it out. Also, if anyone has some questions, please raise your hand.
Okay, you guys waited a while. I appreciate that. Let's start with Batman.
All right. All I was going to say is you mentioned Justimon, and then you brought up Gridman. The funny thing is, Gridman did the digital world before Digimon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This whole like sci-fi stuff has like this whole like digital like frontier thing. It's been around for as long as digital technology exists.
I'm just saying it's really funny because they actually specifically state as the digital world in Superhuman Samurai.
Oh god, yeah, they did, didn't they?
Also, that's the first time I was ever introduced to Tim Curry.
Go watch his stuff, man. That's good stuff.
I like his stuff. That was the first time I
And now he's Kilo Khan, evil, the computer virus and destroyer of worlds.
Have you noticed he ends every one of his sentences with the word "end"?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, next question.
For you to talk about the golden bat, that's a sparrow, that the first Japanese sparrows will then create in the 20th decade, and it was only sung at theaters, okay? That's you know the one that was done by Norwegian pop, and they did a movie in the 60s, okay, with Sonny Shiba, who way won the watching, and finally yes, animated series in the 70s, who been done it into English. I didn't know if there are other stuff of them.
I've heard reference to the Golden Bat, but I couldn't find very much information on it, quite frankly. I honestly, like, it's one of those things I'd love to add in, but like, I can't find enough, like, I can't find enough source material. So I'd rather just not talk about it.
What I heard, there's a lot of things in Italian because don't ask me why it has been a big success in Italia.
Fair enough. Any more questions around here? Yes, in the brown shirt, in the brown sweater.
Well, it's basically a comic.
Go ahead.
A Kamen Rider is actually based off Skullman.
Yes, yes it is. Ishinomori started the manga Skullman, and and when he was brought over to TV, it was deemed too dark, so he made it a grasshopper instead of a skeleton. Do you have anything else?
What's your favorite Kamen Rider?
I can't answer that question. Because I can't. Gaim is really good, but I'm on the hype train right now, and I know I'm on the hype train. So I've got to wait a bit to find out if it's like subjective, actually do a good subjective like analysis of it. I really like O's, and Kiva is good. I know Kiva's odd, but I like it.
Yeah, those are the ones you talk about the most, so.
Yeah. The other Ichigo in the room.
When Black and Black RX show up in an All Riders movie, do you consider them to be the same guy, or Black is from one universe and Black RX is from another universe?
Okay, for a little clarification, Kamen Rider Black was the only series to get a sequel called Kamen Rider Black RX. The issue is, he gets a different suit in RX, but both suits show up at the same time, multiple times throughout continuity, and it's canon. So the only explanation I can give is alternate timeline, really. One timeline where when he finished Black, that was it, he was done. And another timeline where he went on to become RX. That's the best explanation I have. Or they're doing the decade thing where they're universe hopping. One of the two. Thank you, yeah, we're waiting for that. Yes, in the front.
No, I was just gonna bring up the AR worlds from Decade, but you
All right.
mentioned it, so.
Well, it's one of the two. Robocop.
Do you know why they stopped doing the grasshopper thing after the Heisei era? Because it was predominant throughout all of the Shoda, and then they kind of had after Agito, they kind of said, well, screw that, they're gonna kind of look like it, but.
They do it every now and then. Certain motifs from the costumes stick, like the eyes, for example, stay. The antenna is another one. They do occasionally do bug-themed riders. Kabuto is an excellent example. Double is another one. He's actually based off a grasshopper. But it's more rare nowadays. I think it's because they were really trying to stick to tradition when they did the Showa era, because it was a lot more formulaic. It was always a bug cyborg from an evil organization until around Black. That's when they started deviating from it more or less. I think they're just trying to write more fresh storylines. Like, Gaim is an orange themed samurai.
That's what I was gonna mention. It's like, yeah, they went
with fruits and nuts for the next season.
And soda. Soda themed riders and fruit themed riders.
But it works.
But it's so ridiculous.
But it works as a motif. So like they can do as much as they want as long as the writing is good, and the suit designs getting more interesting when they kind of deviate a bit more. So I think that might be why. Blue Ranger first. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, just to piggyback off that comment, I think what's going on now is that with Gavan, the Metal Heroes franchise has pretty much died, and Kamen Rider is now seemingly, because it's the name Kamen Rider, and it kind of means insta success in some regards. I feel like they're trying to pseudo revive Metal Heroes because they hardly ever call themselves Kamen Riders, at least like the last three, unless they're in like the movies.
Yeah, it seems like a title they kind of just like they kind of latch onto. And also, instant success, the 90s, Kamen Rider Shin. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
I meant now.
Yeah, but still. Batman first, then Ichigo.
When I say there's two properties, I'm wondering if these also fall under Tokusatsu. One is Voltron.
Voltron is more anime, actually. I've actually gotten that question before. Voltron actually does fall under more anime, to my knowledge. I tried to do a bit of back research to it. It does have the combining mecha, but everything keeps telling me it falls in anime.
Because you have the 5 color coded team. And the other one is that I can't remember the name of that series, but it was like 5 people. They were bird themed.
That's Gatchaman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Science Ninja Gatchaman. That's one of the animes I mentioned in here.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Ichigo.
What are your thoughts on Kamen Rider the first and Kamen Rider the next?
Okay, so those were independent movies made in around 2005, kind of trying to introduce a younger crowd to the original stuff. I think they were decent for what they were, but they were trying a bit too hard. It's very The Dark Knight, grim, dark, more serious than it has to be kind of thing.
Like they were trying to be Garo.
They were kind of trying to be Garo. The suit designs are nice, the special effects are pretty cool, the idea behind it is interesting, but like, I understand why they only made 2. I kind of like them though. I never considered them like canon with the rest of the stuff, but I kind of like them. Alright, we got any more questions? Jack Frost?
What, on the Kamen Riders with the instruments, which series was that again? What was the title?
The instrument-wielding riders show up in Kamen Rider Hibiki. The clip itself is from Kamen Rider Decade, which is an anniversary clip that kind of just mashes all the last 10 shows together. Yeah. But they're from Kamen Rider Hibiki.
Thank you.
Check it out, it's good in its own right because it doesn't follow tradition. Batman.
What's your favorite Sentai series?
New Sentai Hurricane. I can answer that one because I've only watched 3 or 4. There's a lot of Sentai to go through, and I'd rather specialize in like riders. But Sentai is good. I watch Sentai. Wait.
Which is the most violent scene you've seen in Tokusatsu?
Pardon me? Oh, the most violent scene. Kamen Rider Shin pulling a Sub-Zero on his enemy. I'm not making that up. It's a thing. I can't show it. Okay, one more question. You in front.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't talked about the most driving force in Tokusatsu right now, which is the toy line.
I have a time limit. I want to. It's all about merchandising. It really is. But unfortunately, I've got only so much to talk about, and I'm also trying to get people interested. So, like, I'd rather not say, hey, it's a cheap cash grab. I'd rather just say it's good entertainment.
The toys are awesome.
Oh, yeah, so the toys are really awesome. I'm still trying to get myself a belt for a Rider series. But a lot of it is merchandising nowadays. It wasn't so much in the past, but these days that's a lot how the revenue is made. But they need the revenue because they keep making new suits. So, like, I understand it's kind of one of those necessary evils, I find.
It's a toy commercial that tries.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a good description.
All right, so thank everyone.
Hold on a second. Wait.
What?
I got a question.
What?
Cassandra.
What time is it?
Will you marry me?
That just happened?
What, do you want me to do it again? Okay. Will you marry me?
What did she answer?
Okay, sorry to end on melodrama there, but I really had to make this something.
That's awesome.
Thanks guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. I really hope I piqued your interest in some of the people here. If you have any questions for me personally that I didn't have time to get to, I'll be here for a little while longer. I also have a blog up there. Again, I'm on there. That's actually me. I'll answer questions. So yeah, thanks for coming out. That's really all I got for you right now.